What's up, everybody? This is Passion9, Passion9, the Otaku Flame, and I am in the rain. I got caught in the rain. I'm under my shirt, coming back from the bar, and it's raining. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is I played the Halo remake, Halo Campaign Evolved. How is it? Well, I have some history with the Halo franchise. I played the first 3 games. I enjoyed them. I really enjoyed the campaigns, but I especially enjoyed the competitive multiplayer. And I think they got better as they went along. Halo 3 especially was really, really good. But what do I think of this remake of the original game? Because I haven't played a Halo game since 2007. I don't own Xbox consoles anymore. I haven't since the Red Ring of Death reared its ugly head. So, yeah. This was exciting to me. Halo coming to PlayStation. Kind of crazy, sure, but kind of awesome too, because now people who've never Haloed before can Halo. And if you're like me, and you just haven't Haloed in a long time, well, it's a nice reunion. The question is this game still fun? Yes. Yes, I do think by and large Halo is still fun. I had a lot of fun playing it. I do think this campaign of the original Halo does show some age. There are aspects of it that I don't think are as easy to overlook as they might have been when the game was new and groundbreaking and was like a much bigger deal. Like, there are aspects of this campaign that are a little rough around the edges, especially, like, I don't know, I've always felt that Halo, especially the original Halo, the very first game, was always a game of, like, 2 very different halves. You know what I mean? It's like, on one hand, it is this really fun tactical shooter where you have these alien enemies that are kind of smart and tricky to fight, and, you know, they come in a nice variety. You've got the little grunts, you've got the jackals, you've got the elites, and they're all different, and they all behave differently, and the AI is pretty cool. So, like, they're fun to fight. And Halo, though pretty basic as far as shooters go, like, it is pretty basic at the end of the day, there's a nice tactical feel to the combat. And it is fun, especially in the open-ended areas where you're running around with vehicles and stuff. It's a fun game, but there is another side to Halo that I was never as attracted to, and that is when it becomes more like a horde shooter. You know, when it becomes more like Doom. And I think Halo is a lot more fun when it's not trying to be Doom. You know, because sometimes it just straight up turns into Doom. Like, it'll send waves of enemies after you, hordes of enemies coming at you from all angles, and then it becomes far less tactical and much more about just shooting as much as you possibly can to take out as many enemies as the game can possibly throw at you. This is especially true when the Flood shows up. And I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Flood parts of any Halo game. Like, on the one hand, I do think the tonal shift is cool. The idea of these aliens that you suddenly have to fight. It gets very exciting. Like, it gets desperate, and it does change the tempo of the game in an interesting way when the Flood shows up. But in this remake, I was surprised because even the infamous library level, I was still having fun. I was still having fun even fighting the Flood. Like, it's a nice tempo change. Like I said, it's a nice change in the action. They're a different kind of enemy, and they do feel different to fight. And that is, of course, when the game finally gives you a shotgun, and the shotgun's really fun to use, and it's really satisfying. But, this is a big freaking but, it gets to a point sometimes in this game, and not just with the Flood, even the Covenant sometimes, there are some sections of this game where they just throw too many enemies at you. And it just gets to a point where it's more frustrating than fun for me, because you have this little health bar, this regenerating health bar, and you've got guns you have to constantly reload, and all of that works fine. It works best when you're dealing with small mobs of enemies, you know what I mean? Like, which is what most of Halo's campaign is all about. And you can tell Bungie was still figuring this shit out. You can tell they were still figuring out the formula with this first game, because Halo 2 and 3 would have a lot more of that tactical combat. A lot more combat that's open-ended and has more of the vehicle combat and has big open areas. It's less of a corridor shooter in future games, because there's a lot of corridor, like Doom style shit in this game, in this first game. And for the most part, I still enjoyed those sections. They're still fun, even if the level design can be a bit samey and a little cookie cutter. But it does eventually get to a point, and there's one mission in particular, the Keys mission, where you gotta go and take out a bunch of Flood and Covenant enemies at the same time, and you gotta go take out your old spoilers, your former commander guy Keys, because he's been infected with the Flood and everything. That mission has you fighting like hundreds and hundreds of like Covenant and Flood enemies, and it's just endless corridors full of enemies, and they're coming at you from behind, they're coming at you from the front, and you have weapons you constantly have to reload, and a health bar that goes down very quickly. You know what I mean? And it feels like you never get a breath, like enough of a... All right, screw this. If it rains on me a little, that's fine. I was starting to suffocate in there. Anyway, it gets to a point where it's just like, it's too much. Too many enemies hitting you all at once from every angle. And I just think Halo is at its best when it's trying to be Halo and not trying to be Doom. Because, Doom is a different kind of shooter. And I can enjoy Doom. I can enjoy me some Doom. I mean, it's not my favorite shooter in the world, but that game is all about holding down the fire button and just mowing down enemies nonstop. There's no reloading. There's none of that shit. You don't have this tiny regenerating health bar. With Halo, with that stuff, I just think the game works better when you're dealing with those like concentrated mobs of Covenant enemies, or even when you're fighting the Flood, when it's just like you're going to that library level and you're waiting for the doors to open, and like you'll get hit with a certain number of enemies, but it doesn't become overwhelming. The Keys mission, for some reason, towards the end of the game, it's like the second to last mission in the game. If there's one mission in this game that I wish this remake had completely redesigned, it's that one. Because, man, it's just not fun to me anymore at that point. It becomes more of a slog. And I'll be honest, that's the only mission in the game where I felt that way the whole way through. The Truth and Reconciliation mission, that one can get a little long-winded. But for the most part, I had fun with like 90% of this game still. I mean, the campaign's still a lot of fun. Vehicles are a lot of fun to drive. That's another thing that the sequels give you a lot more opportunities to mess with. But like, it's still fun. And this remake, I mean, it's not like the best remake I've ever played, because it leaves a lot of the flaws of the original game kind of intact, when I feel like if you're going to justify remaking Halo, especially for Xbox owners who already have the Master Chief Collection and everything, I mean, for PlayStation owners like me, it's a much bigger deal to just be playing a Halo game on this system. So for us, it's a big deal. But like, I think they could have done more to justify this remake, because there's some of the things they do add, like you have a sprint now. You couldn't sprint in the original Halo, you can run. So that might sound like a small thing, but like being able to run in the original Halo is actually a big deal. Like there's a lot of moments in this game that are better because you can sprint. And believe me, that's one of the better changes they made to this remake, even though it sounds like a small, insignificant thing. And then there's like, again, I think there's some elements that have been reworked. Like, I think the library level has definitely been reworked, because like I said, I found myself having fun with that level, and I remember that being a real drag in the original game. So like, yeah, they even added like some new missions, these prequel missions that are set long before the events of the main campaign, where you're fighting along Sergeant Johnson, and it's like, those are cool. Those are neat. It's a whole new like mini campaign before the main campaign. And I wouldn't say it's like mind-blowing new content. It's mostly more corridor levels. You have a couple of smaller open-ended areas here and there where you can get on a ghost or whatever, but like, there's not like a ton that's added to this campaign. I would say the coolest thing was when you got to board a spaceship and do some dogfighting in space. Like, it literally turns into Star Fox at the end of this campaign. And you have an outer space mission where you're controlling a Covenant spaceship. That was cool. It doesn't go on for like super long, but it's a really cool sequence. And I don't remember any Halo game out of the 3 that I played anyway. I don't remember any of them having an outer space dogfighting mission. So that's pretty cool as a climax to this campaign. And it's cool that as a remake, it does have some new content. But it's not like the greatest thing ever either. It's not like, it was cool. Like, they even add some weapons from later Halo games in this mini campaign. I thought that was cool. I saw some stuff from like Halo 2 and 3 in there. Weapons that like I didn't think would be in a remake of the original. But they are in this mini prequel campaign. And, there's some new story stuff. I'll be honest, when it comes to the storytelling in Halo games, I am sort of a fan of Halo when it comes to the gameplay, and especially the competitive multiplayer. I like a lot of the ingredients of the sci-fi universe in Halo. The Covenant is a cool idea as a villain faction. I like the Ring world itself. I like a lot of concepts in Halo, but I'll be honest, when it comes to the storytelling, I could care less. I don't think Master Chief is that good of a character. I think he's boring as hell. He's always behind a helmet, and he barely speaks, and he's just a no-nonsense character. I think the closest thing to like a truly human and interesting character, ironically, is Cortana, even though she's an AI hologram. And I don't know, even she's like a surface level character, sidekick character that's just she's got a little sass, but like, I just never thought Halo was that interesting when it comes to the storytelling. I'm sorry. I know some people adore the plot of the Halo games, but even by the third one, I'm like, I don't really care that much about the story, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's a neat framework. I think like the world itself, the universe, the way everything looks is cool, but like, I don't really care about the story. I don't think it's that deep or that interesting, and the characters are all just kind of basic to me. There's still like charm to it, but like I'm not, the new, like whatever little bit of new story there is in this mini campaign they've added, just felt like more of the same stuff to me. So I wasn't blown away by that either. But I do like, however, the new cinematics, the new cutscenes. All of the in-game cutscenes now are like super cinematic. They're like Final Fantasy level cutscenes where they're like full-on CG cutscenes. And I know some people are a little against that. Some purists really just have complained a lot about this remake because it does tweak a lot of things. And apparently some people don't like that the cutscenes are no longer in-game graphics. They're like full motion cutscenes now. But man, they're so cinematic and they are really cool. And like, yeah, the game looks great. It's running on Unreal Engine 5. It does look pretty nice. I think that engine gets a lot of hate. And I think that's because in the wrong hands, it's an engine with some problems. And to be fair, while I think this game looks great, there are frame rate issues. It does chug whenever there's too much action on screen. There's some stop motion looking moments where enemies are ragdolling everywhere and stuff is blasting around and it just starts moving slow. It starts stuttering. It's usually when there's just too much shit going on at once. And, there are moments of this game where a lot is happening at once. The good news is Halo Studios claims they're going to patch it out. But I have to go by what I've played. I have to go by the game at launch. And yeah, it's got some frame rate issues, which is kind of sad because this is a shooter. This is an action shooter. Like, you want a really steady, consistent frame rate. Most of the time I would say it runs fine, but there are some choppy moments. And that's, hopefully that does get worked out because, yeah, the game would be better for it. But it looks nice. It does look nice. I like the visuals a lot. Like I said, I always thought Halo had a neat look to it. But, yeah, it's still fun. It's still Halo. Like, hopping onto a ghost, like the jacking mechanic from Halo 2 is in here. You can steal a ghost. You can steal a Banshee from a Covenant. Driving around the Warthog with your Marines is still fun. I always wondered why. I always found it baffling that nobody has ever ripped off the vehicle combat in Halo games. Like, why hasn't any other shooter franchise stolen this formula? Like, it's so much fun driving vehicles around, especially my favorite, the Ghost. Those things are so much fun, man. They're so much fun to drive around. It does stink, though, because, again, this is the very first Halo game, and there's not as much done with the vehicle stuff. And the few open-ended areas where you can drive vehicles around, it feels like you don't get a lot of that. It's still mostly corridor shooting. It's still mostly on-foot stuff. And again, you could tell Bungie was still like developing the formula, because by the time you get to Halo 3, the entire campaign is just giving you countless opportunities to do crazy shit with vehicles and your fellow computer-controlled Marine comrades. Anyway, even though it's the original Halo, and I don't think it's as good as Halo 2 and 3, even in this remake, they spiffed it up, but it's still not the best Halo out of that trilogy. But man, does it feel good to play Halo on a PlayStation console, especially when I've been away from it for so long. It's just a very singular shooter. There's nothing like Halo. There's nothing quite like this game. It still has its own very unique feel. The music, especially, gotta mention like that iconic score, and it's like, yeah, this game, it's kind of earned its place in gaming history, even if I don't think the original game was ever like a flawless first-person shooter masterpiece or anything. I think it has some faults, some flaws in level design and pacing, and sometimes the difficulty goes up by just throwing as many enemies at you as it can. Like I said, that stuff gets frustrating. But, most of the time the game is doing what it needs to do. Like, most of the time it's Halo, and Halo is great. And I hope this is a sign of things to come. I hope we get more Halo on PlayStation. Even if it means another remake, a remake of 2, I'd be fine with that. Or just a whole new game. Whatever. It's nice. It's nice. Playing Halo again is nice. I have my gripes with it. It's $50. There's no competitive multiplayer in this remake, which is kind of a bummer. There is co-op, but I with Halo, I've always loved the competitive stuff. Co-op, I don't care about. So it's like, it's kind of a thin package outside of the new missions they've given, which is cool, but for $50, it is a little bit of a slim package, but I think I'd still recommend it. If you really have fond memories of playing Halo games like I do, back on OG Xbox or whatever, I think this just about makes the cut, It's not perfect, but it makes the cut. This is a good, solid remake. I just got attacked by a fly. The flies are out to get me. Okay, I should wrap this up. Anyway, Halo is cool. Halo is still cool. Halo Remake is good. Play Halo Remake if you like Halo. And until next time, you get to burning and live for the passion.